I arrived in Managua on May 11th. For the first time in my life, I left the first world and entered the third world. I had been told a single story of Nicaragua: poor people, corrupt government, civil war. I expected to see dilapidated buildings and broken people. After all, that was why I was there, to help these people. They needed my help. My trip was supposed to be very simple: go to the community, install water filters, test myself to see if I could do this, and then go home. But it was not a single story. It was more complicated than that. Part of the trip was to go through a global health practicum. This was really my first eye-opening experience to the assumptions and stereotypes I had been making. One training activity stands out vividly in my mind. Taped on the ground were sheets of paper with one word on them: Muslim, Native American, Hispanic, white, female, etc. Then we stood in a circle and took turns taking a single adjective and placing it under one of these categories. It was really saddening, but not very surprising to see what the final result was. I'd never been confronted so openly with the stereotypes, the single stories I and others carry around. How much have my actions been informed by these unconscious biases? But the practicum was merely theory and rhetoric. The biggest challenge to my assumptions was the community of El Bamboo. Heading in, I knew that I would be installing water filters and working at health stations, so I had low expectations for this community. I envisioned people living in huts and in abject poverty. People who don't have clean drinking water can't possibly live fulfilling lives. I guess I had watched too many Help Africa commercials. I was ashamed to feel so surprised when I entered El Bamboo and discovered that they had 2-story houses and in some cases cars. They were even building a general store that looked like it could be on the street corner of my neighborhood. This wasn't the single story I had been told. The people were amazingly inventive and so very proud of what they had. They were blessed with thousands of dollars worth of fruits and peppers that I could only dream of having, and they were just giving it away. I had been wrong. People can be rich in so many ways, but still lack the essentials such as clean drinking water. But Nicaragua isn't the only American country that doesn't fit its single story. For example, the first weekend I was in Nicaragua, the 9 of us traveled to Granada, and it was quite obvious we were gringos. A man on the bus asked us about the police violence and racism issues proliferating in our country. I was taken aback. For one, I had never expected to be asked that by a Nicaraguan. They had their own issues with the United States I'd expected to hear about first. And two, how sad that is the first and only thing we were asked about our country. I then realized the United States has multiple stories. His version, but also all men are created equal, the land of milk and honey. But none of these are the whole story. I thought I had at least an understanding of the world, but I learned I knew nothing. The single story does not exist. Each person has their own voice and makes their own story. Only when we hear all the stories can we begin to know the truth.